Good afternoon.
Hi,
Hi, everyone. Good morning to you and welcome to the IELTS Masterclass. It's brought to you by IDP and Burlington English. It's wonderful that you've all, am I audible now? I got a few messages saying I'm not audible. Okay, I see the good morning, so I'm assuming I'm audible now. Okay, it's wonderful that you've all joined me today on the journey towards mastering the skills required for the IELTS exam. My name, by the way, before we get started, let me show you my next slide. My name is Nina, and I'm your trainer for the next hour and a half. We will try and fit in as many strategies and insights as possible during this time. But to get the most out of this session, and for me to really train you on what's important for you, please give quick responses and ask questions. Feel free to share any thoughts that you may have. You can use the chat function or, yeah, I think we are good to go then. All right. So before we get started, could you tell me, please, at least some of you, if you can tell me where in India or where are you from and what is the weather like where you are? You're in Bangalore, it must be lovely weather. Kerala must be rainy, I thought. Yeah. I always envy people when they say they're from Bangalore. West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh. What's the weather like? Nice and cool with lighter, yeah, of course. Oh, Odisha, also pleasant weather. It's cloudy in Vishakhapatnam. Yeah, whoever told me they're from Bihar, I feel for you. It rained here. Lots of people from Delhi as well. That's lovely. Thank you so much. Yeah, just to get a sense of where we are. So I'm in Delhi at the moment. It rained this morning, but it's become really humid. It's not one of those places that get nice and pleasant. Weather's cool and pleasant and raining. It's cloudy in Hyderabad. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for telling me where you are. Jitendra, please don't raise your hand. Just put in whatever you have, or feel free to put it on the chat. Okay. Yes, Delhi, Abhay, I feel for you. Very, very hot. Right. Okay. Quick question again. How long have you been preparing for the IELTS classes? For IELTS, sorry, for the IELTS exam, not IELTS classes, but how long have you been preparing for the IELTS exam? It's 2 weeks, more than a year since Pratap Singh, 2 weeks. Oh, 3 to 4, 6 months. Okay, so a whole range. So many of you come with a lot of insight yourself. So you probably have some very specific questions. Months. Yeah, okay, just started. So let's say I hope that we can, I'll be able to help you in whichever stage of preparation you are. So what do you find challenging? What do you find challenging? The reading? Yeah, writing. Some people think writing, reading list of headings, writing, reading, writing. Okay, so let's try and see. I'll show you what my plan is, and we'll try and see how best we can work on these specific skills. Okay. So I'm going to now writing to reading. Yeah, I'm hoping that we can cover all 4 skills. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause my videos. Please forgive me if my voice goes on and off a little bit. It's because of the air conditioning, but it'll be fine in a bit. Okay, so I'm going to pause my video so that you can concentrate fully on the slides, but I'll switch it on again whenever we have our periodic Q&A. Okay. So first thing, please remember to refer to the IDP IELTS website regularly for preparation material. And there are top tips for all 4 sections. So do remember to log in regularly and use this website for some fantastic resources. Okay, and here's the website that I encourage you to refer to. Okay, I'm now going to put up a few little figures on the board, and I want you on the chat box to tell me what significance it has to your IELTS exam. For example, 60 minutes. What does that mean? It's the time for writing and reading, okay? Time limit, yeah. It's the duration for various sections, the reading section, particularly writing also. That's right, Mayanka, thank you. All right. Yeah, okay. What about this? Yeah, 2 tasks. You're talking about 2 tasks. It's because the writing has 2 sections. You're absolutely right. How will you fill this gap? What would fit in here? That's right. Thanks, Arav. International. Many of you saying international. That's the full form of the IELTS exam. Very good. What about this? Where do you see this term? Range and accuracy. Very good. You re-see it in the speaking. And you're right, Bharat. Bharat, you also see it in the writing as well. Yeah, very good. All good answers. And what is this? Oops, sorry, this one. Of course, it's the bands. You know all about the bands, and I know you're all aiming and you're going to achieve high bands of 7 and 8, maybe even a 9, who knows? Yeah, that's really good. And what about this? Yes, it's a reading question type. Okay. And yeah, good, Mayanka, all correct. Yeah, speaking, it's a speaking. And which part of the speaking would this be from? It will be part 1. Yes, correct. It's not the cue card. The cue card comes up in part 2, but it is the first part where you're asked to speak on these. Very good. And what about this? Are you familiar with word and sentence stress? Where would you see this? And what is its purpose? Right. Absolutely. Very good, all of you. It is in the speaking, but which part of the speaking, when are they, what are they evaluating you for when you say speaking? It's not in a particular part, but you're right, Bansi. It's the pronunciation to see whether you're able to stress in the right parts. Yeah, excellent. So I can see your preparation is pretty good. What about writing band descriptors? Harshit, sorry, I can't help you with that. You'll have to get in touch with IDP directly. Okay, writing band descriptors, what do you think this is? Yeah, you've put many different things, but essentially it's the way the examiner will check whether you're meeting the requirements of the IELTS writing task. Yeah, 4 parameters is all correct. Yeah, very good preparation. Thank you very much. All right, so now that we know that almost all of you know the most important things of the exam, let's talk about some general strategies, things that you should keep in mind. Okay, so I always like to say this. How do you train your English brain? How do you train yourself to have an English brain? Jivanjot, we're just beginning the training, so shall we just wait? Okay, speaking a lot is what Salman says. Is that what it means? Grinding your brain, courage. Don't grind it too much. Okay, Jayati, I would say that's what I'm trying to imply. Okay, thinking in English. Okay, so many of us are in the habit of thinking in our mother tongues and then trying to translate it. This always brings down our fluency. So things like, Christina, what you've said, having daily conversations in English, talking as much as possible, and in my mind, giving up your mother tongue or any other language that you're comfortable for a little while. Don't speak in any other language at all. It may be difficult initially, but you will see that your speed and your comfort with English will increase with this strategy. So do develop an English brain. Okay, so improving your language skills is really important. So if you just prepare with IELTS strategies and say, okay, fine, to do this kind of question, I have to read the question, I have to look at the highlight, I have to highlight the keywords, I have to look for synonyms, etc., etc. If you keep concentrating on that, those are just strategies to help you to understand the questions. But what about your language itself? So side by side, you have to work on improving your language skills. If you refer to the Cambridge website, it will tell you, in fact, how many hours you will need just to work on your language skills. Then, of course, is side by side working on your IELTS exam strategy. That means no question should be a surprise to you. You should be completely familiar with what is the best way to achieve the correct answers in that type of question. Okay, so why is this important? Point number 4, know how the exam is marked. That's right, to answer accordingly so that we can score higher. All of these are correct answers, and particularly it's important in the writing and the speaking sections. In the reading and listening, of course, you know, it's a straight yes or no. If you get this correct, you get 1 point. If you do get it wrong, you don't get a point, right? But if you know how the exam is marked, then you know what are the areas to focus on the websites, and there is quite a bit of misinformation sometimes. Okay, some people say you have to speak in some accent, some people say you should write more than the word limit. So what is the correct answer to all of this? So I strongly encourage you to find out exactly how the exam is marked, and these are available on the official websites. Very good quote from you, Arav. Yes, that's really good. Okay. Right. So, as I mentioned, listening and reading, it's really easy for you to evaluate yourself. But where your writing and speaking is concerned, it's a good idea for you to get somebody else to write to evaluate your writing and speaking. So, some of you I see are in an academy, for example, Macrovision Academy. Hello. So, you're probably being trained by trainers, but there will be some of you who are preparing on your own. So, that's fine as well. Okay. But for those of you who do not have somebody else to help you with, ask someone to read your writing and to check how well you speak so that you get a second opinion. Okay. Um, really, really importantly in my mind is your building of a vocabulary bank. Without words, we can't do any of these things. So the thing that I always encourage students is whenever you read anything, whenever you listen to anything, and you think, oh, that's an interesting word, I think I can use that. That says exactly what I mean to say in a much more eloquent way. I think I learned that word. So you record it in whatever way, either on your mobile phone or write it down and understand the meaning. And but more importantly, it's not just enough to build a vocabulary bank. So there are people who have 1,000 word bank lists and really large word lists. But the point is, do you know how to use it appropriately? And importantly, are you reviewing it and reusing it? Okay, so this is really important. Do build your vocabulary in the best way possible. So in this session, these are what I plan to do. We will do the listening in multiple choice questions. We'll do writing, speaking, and the reading. These are what I'm hoping to cover. Naturally, we don't have the time to cover all of the tasks that are there, but these are the ones that most people need help with. So I don't think my slides will come in this order. Just bear with me, please. Okay. So let's move on quickly to the listening section. But before that, if at this point you have any general questions, please feel free to ask me. Just generally, okay? Not anything specific. Gayatri, and to anybody else who's writing to me about this PPT, please get in touch or message the IDP contact that is on your list. Okay. Arav, again, computer-based versus pen and paper. I suggest you take advice from the IDP team. They're a brilliant team and will help you with finding out which is most suitable for you. Okay, so I'm moving on to the listening section. Okay. Some very specific questions with phone numbers, etc. I'm sorry I won't be able to get in touch with you directly. Here we are, understanding the listening test. You will have 4 recordings, as you know, and you will have a range of voices. You can also have a single person speaking or a multiple person speaking. The tricky bit, of course, many people mention is that the recordings are played only once. And if you do a paper-based test, you will have 10 minutes to transfer, but in a computer-based test, you will answer online. So these are just the basic facts of the example. So as I said, I'm going to let's do an example from a listening multiple choice questions. They can come in 2 ways. You will have to pick one correct answer. That means there will be 3 answers and you choose one correct one. Sometimes, very often, the beginning of a sentence is given and then you have 3 possible ways to complete it. And in some cases, you will have to choose more than one correct answer. And I'm going to give you an example from format 2. Okay, so this is the question. What information do we get from the question itself? Okay, you can see that it says, what 3 items are you recommended to take with you to the spa? So what information do we have just by looking at the question? Okay, so the important thing for us to remember is that before the recording begins, we have a little bit of time, and I don't know, you're saying money, slipper, etc. For you, I don't understand. My question is, what do you understand from this question? We haven't heard it, so how do you know it is money and slippers, right? So before playing the audio, you have a bit of time, so we can get ready. What things we can do are, okay, read the question and any title that's there. So for example, it says spa day, so we know that the listening is going to be about a spa. And we also see from the question that the person is going to speak about things that have to be taken to the spa. Okay, so just based on your own, experience maybe, or even what your common sense, what do you think could be the possible answers? What could be possible answers? Yeah, slippers, towel. You'll take a watch to a spa? Okay, maybe. All right, maybe that's your experience. Towel, slippers. Okay, right. So you've put some answers. Do you think that the audio will exactly match what you've guessed? Will it? No, no, it won't. But it's a good idea. It's a good idea for us to be prepared, because then it helps our mind focus. So that's why when you read the question, just make a guess. It doesn't have to necessarily be the right answers, but it forces you to read all the options and have a mental image of it. Right. And of course, underline the keywords and that so that you can be prepared and you understand what it is that you're expected to do. Right. So when the so only, as you know, only 3 options are correct as per the question. But will we hear things that make us feel that the wrong options are the right answers? Will we sometimes hear some things? Yes, you will hear. And what are they called? These options that make you think, yeah, this is okay. Vigne uses the word trap. Okay. We sometimes use the word distractors. So how can we avoid distractors? This is the point that we need to think about. Yeah, it'll be confusing. So here are some of my tips. So the first thing is, while listening to the audio, if you hear something that seems to be correct, don't jump immediately and think that, okay, this is the right answer. Try and wait till that section plays, and this will help you make a better decision. The other thing is, while listening to the audio, if you hear something that is definitely not matching the option, strike out that option completely with your pencil. If you are doing a paper-based test, if you're doing a computer-based test, of course, write it down somewhere so that you know, don't look at this option. So the number of options and decisions you have to make will decrease so you can make a better decision. And importantly, the last point, after the audio plays, if you're not sure of the answer, make a guess and don't leave any questions unanswered. Right? So these are some of the things that we need to keep in mind. So how do we tackle multiple choice questions? Right? So those are the first 2 points that we have. Look at the question clearly, make some guesses, think of synonyms. Okay, so for example, the word recommend is given in the question. Do you think the audio will say recommend in the recording? So will the speaker, for example, say, I recommend that you take a towel, I recommend that you wear a watch, that kind of thing? No. So what is the word we use for, yeah, you can use, they may say suggest, expect. Yeah, very good. So what are these kind of words used? My Anka said, all of you, correct? Yeah, propose. What are these words called? What are these types of words called? Yeah, synonyms. Correct, correct. Very good. Yeah, synonyms. Or you're paraphrasing. That's another term that we use when we say the whole bit of text in other language using other words. Okay, so synonyms and paraphrasing will be used extensively. So think of some words that might be used instead of the words which are exactly on the question. And then also, of course, what we've already said before. So some of you have given me this option, should, or it's advised. And then, of course, look at the make predictions, what things seem likely or unlikely. So we talked about that earlier. Okay. Now, one of the other things that we have to do is to note the difference between similarly worded options. Not in this exercise, okay? You don't see these options, but often there will be similar sounding options. So, for example, you have something like, you must bring fruits, fruits will be provided, fruits are not allowed. So what are the differences? What words are showing us the difference? Yeah, bring, provide, and not allowed. Very good. Right? You can see that these are the words that bring a difference. So listen carefully whether the recording is about must, which means it's a rule, or opposite, not allowed. The rule is not to bring fruits. Or if the spa is going to give customers some fruit. So all of these options you must concentrate on. So when you have similar looking options, underline the words that are different and keep watching out for that and understand what those differences are. And of course, we've already spoken about it. A distractor, it's a word or a phrase that changes or corrects the original piece of information. Okay, so always there will be something in the audio, so beware of this. The best approach is to mark the correct answers, is to put a tick beside an answer you think is correct, but you continue to listen carefully in case you find that it's wrong. If it is, you can quickly change your answer. This is what I recommend. So let's say I've always recommend taking a packed lunch. What is the word that is changing the meaning here? Which word is it that has made the first sentence, we've got a contradiction? Yeah, Jasila, Bansi, all correct. The word is, of course, however. Because of the word, however, you know that the meaning has now reversed. So it's probably not the answer that's there. So linking words, that's right. So watch out for words like this. Right. Okay, so we're ready now to play the audio. So please watch out. Here's the question for you, and I'm playing the audio right now.
You will hear a hotel manager talking to a group of guests about the spa day excursion they've booked for the following day.
Okay, sorry. I think let me just play that again.
Thank you for booking the luxury spa day. We'll be leaving the hotel at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. But this evening, I just want to run through a few things to ensure that you're well prepared and have a wonderful time. First, towels and bathrobes are provided, so you won't need to take them with you. You're welcome to wear the slippers from your room while you're there, but a pair will be provided when you arrive at the venue. As you'll be enjoying a glass of bubbly in the jacuzzi, a bathing suit is a must. Jewellery is not advisable, so leave your valuables, including your watch, in the hotel safe. Everything is covered in the price you've already paid, so no cash or credit cards will be required. You'll be given a light, nutritious lunch, so you don't need to worry about food. However, I do recommend popping an apple, banana or some grapes in your bag as a healthy snack in case you feel hungry during the afternoon. I also suggest that you take a book to read, but that's up to you. The spa staff advise clients not to apply cosmetics after treatments, so I suggest leaving your lip gloss and eyeliner behind. Of course, you'll look so glamorous after your pamper sessions that you won't need them anyway. Oh, and one last thing. Don't forget your pass, as you won't get in without it. I'll hand them out in a minute, after I've answered any questions you might have.
Okay, so that's it. Can I have what answers have you put on? H, C, C, E, D. Okay, many of you seem to have got the answers quite right. Wonderful. So yeah, really good, really good. So what should you be writing? Should you write the words or should you write the A, B, C, D, E, F? What should you write on the paper? Or will you write swimming costume, for example, or fruit or things like that? What will you write? Will you write the letter? Will you write the full words? Yeah, it is a letter which has been given because it says very clearly on the question. That's what you have to do. But then, yeah. So here we are. These are the answers, C, E, and H. So, but you don't write because it said 3 letters, but don't write any of these things. Right? I hope you got them correct. But let's have a look at how we did that. Okay. So we heard this sentence, towels are provided, so you don't need to take them with you. And so you strike that out. How did we get to C? This is the sentence you heard. So because of this, however, you know that it's not lunch that they're providing, but they are providing you, they are recommending that you take some fruit, right? Okay. So which word? So this is another one. The answer to number 2 was E. Don't forget your pass, as you won't get in without it. What's another, what's pass the equivalent of? Yeah, that's right. The word pass meant ticket. And so you will see that that was the right answer. And the third one, you heard this. And of course, the word bathing suit is another way of saying swimming costume. So this is how we arrive at it. Look for synonyms and listen carefully. So here I'm just going through my things that I've just said before. First, be clear that in this particular case, you needed multiple answers. Look for which are the keywords. In this case, it was quite simple in the sense that there were only single words, but often there will be sentences, in which case you want to be clear about what the difference between the sentences are. Also, remember to listen for the meaning and not for the exact word as in the question. Okay. So any questions about multiple choice questions? Okay, let's move on then. Okay, we'll move to the writing section, and as you know, you have to do 2 tasks. If you're talking about the academic writing, there are 2 types of tasks. In the first one, you do have to talk about a pictorial, there will be a pictorial representation that you have to describe. But for purposes of this training, I'm going to be doing task 2, where you write an essay in response to a question prompt. Okay, so you know that you have to write in a formal style. You'll be given 40, it's a recommended time is 40 minutes, and you should write 250 words at least. Okay, before we get started, here is what we do on the marking criteria front. 25% of your scores are marked like this, with 25% each on each of these key factors. Hopefully you understand what these terms are. But let's quickly go through them. What does grammatical range and accuracy means? Grammatical range and accuracy, what are we looking at? Yeah, precision is accuracy, you're right. You want to be able to use accurate tenses, for example. The sentence structure should be quite good. You don't want to write very, very simple words. Simple sentences. You should use both simple as well as complex words. Sorry, not words, but sentences. Okay, so that's what they're trying to check in your grammatical range. Lexical resource, at the bottom of that screen, you see lexical resource. What does lexical resource mean? Yeah, it is. Thank you, Bansi. Gayatri, all of you are just saying. I've moved on to writing, by the way. It's not listening anymore, so I hope you're keeping pace with me. It is the vocabulary. So often I get asked whether you should use big words or complicated words. My answer to that, before any of you ask me, is that use the words that are apt for the situation. You're not going to impress your examiner by just using 2 or 3 big words, just fit it in somewhere. Use words that are correct for the situation. Okay, 25% goes for achievement or a response. What would that mean? Essentially, it means, are you doing what has been asked from you? Are you able to write exactly what has been asked in the question? Are you writing things that are relevant? Are you writing things in the correct format that has been expected? Okay, and what is coherence and cohesion? Yeah, coherence and cohesion. Organization is correct. You should be able to, what you write should be connected together, and they should be connected to the question, right? Ideas should be linked in a proper way. Yeah, all of this is what coherence and cohesion means. You've all explained it really, really well. Okay, right. So, but for a full description of this, please refer to the IELTS writing band descriptors and become really familiar with it, so that you can judge yourself why you are in, let's say, a band 6. When you want to actually achieve a band 7 or a band 8, you refer to the parameters in 6, and you can be sure that what you're doing is more or less what is described in band 6, and you will also find out what are the things you need to be doing when you're in band 8. So specifically for task 2, these are the most common kinds of questions you come across. Okay, for purposes of this session, I'm going to take you through an example of a double question essay, right? Right. Now, before we get to that, how would you answer this question? Should you plan before you write, or should you just start writing? Obviously, yes, plan, 100% plan. Okay, and what is the difficulty one faces when one is trying to plan? Organizing, yeah, organize your thoughts. Yes, okay. What is the difficulty? Getting too many, that's right, Bansi. There's too many ideas. Thinking in the mother tongue, planning accurately. Thinking in the mother tongue, you should just stop, yeah? Be disciplined and just punish yourself. How much to elaborate, Saket? Okay, lack of ideas. Elaboration is not part of the planning, I think, Saket. Lack of ideas. Most of the time, people say they have a lack of ideas, and I'll just try and address that in just a minute. So I think we are all in agreement. We definitely should be planning because that's the only way to get a high score. In this task. Okay, so first and foremost, try and understand what you're supposed to do, underline all the keywords, and really get to the bottom of it and say, what is it that I'm trying to do? Also, as part of the planning, write down your ideas and some apt vocabulary as well. I will get to it. I'm just saying, oh, write down ideas when many of you are saying we find that difficult, but I will address that in a minute. And also, the third thing you can do is think of how to organize your paragraph, okay? Because when you're actually under the pressure of writing, you may end up writing a point that is more suitable to a conclusion than to the middle of the paragraph. So remember to put your points together before you start doing the actual writing. So here's the task that I'm hoping that we can work on together, right? Have a read. What is the topic? Homeschooling is the topic. You're right, Salman and Mutazin Ahmed. And what is homeschooling? What is homeschooling? Not going to school, or yes, you're going to school, but you are doing the school at home, not tuition classes, but you can study from home, right? Online classes maybe. Somebody is asking about personal pronouns. Yes, you should use personal pronouns when your opinions are asked for. Yes, home education. Okay, so all of you have given some nice answers there. And so what we're going to try and do is understand what you have to do. So for that, we divide it into, that's the rubric, which means this is what is expected. And you can see in the second one is the instructions. So these are standard instructions, and they'll always say give reasons for your answers, give examples from your own knowledge or experience, right? So how do you give examples from your own knowledge or experience? If you don't write about things you can use things from your personal examples, or you can use things from other people's experience as well, right? So here you can see there are two questions that one must answer. That's question number one. Why do you think parents might choose homeschooling? And number two is more general. Do you think? Okay, it's asking for your opinion. You may or may not be a parent, but it's asking for your opinion. Is it more beneficial? As you can see, there are two questions. And because there are two questions, we call that a double question type, right? So this comes up a lot. How do you generate ideas? So first and foremost, my point would be, I think a lot of the times we try to think of ideas that are unusual. If you look at the writing parameters on the band descriptors, you will see that it never mentions that your ideas have to be creative, or they have to be unusual or unique. So I think there is no need for us to pressure ourselves and trying to come up with ideas that are very different. The most simple, basic ideas, as long as you present them in an elegant, eloquent manner, is what is important. It's a language exam, right? You're not pitching to, let's say, some venture capitalist, or you're not trying to say, I want to set up a business. None of these things. So your uniqueness is not what is important here. It's how you present how you write your ideas that is important. So first and foremost, remove that pressure from yourself. So if you're sitting with a bunch of friends, you can do brainstorming, ask the question, oh, what do you think about homeschooling? Do you think your parents would like it? That kind of thing. Talk to each other and generate ideas. That's one way. If some of you may know about mind mapping already, but whatever ideas come into your mind, just put it into these little bubbles like this and try and organize your thoughts. I like these last two techniques. I call them ask a friend and an example technique. Okay. So what I do here is I imagine, let's say I don't have a friend with me, but I imagine I'm sitting and chatting with my best friend. And I say, hey, Vandana, what do you think of homeschooling? Do you think parents prefer that? And I will just pretend that she's answering and what discussion we have. And that's it. Just 2-3 ideas is enough. And I just think, what does she say? What will I say in reply? And then we come out with some ideas and I list it out. Or the other way is you think of examples first. Imagine a set of parents, if you need to imagine, or if you think of your neighbor and their children, and you think, okay, what would be the benefits of these children not going to school, but if they were educated at home? So think of an example first and then try to build your points. So I find that these two methods, the last two methods particularly, bring down stress. But always keep in mind the point that I made right at the beginning, which is that you don't have to think about really, really unusual ideas, right? Okay. Planning, the step 2, as we talked about, is ideas and vocabulary so after that, of course, so sorry, what I meant to do here was to show you in the next step, once you've got your ideas, you think of some vocabulary that you think would be helpful to you, and you write those down as well. Okay. So this is a good structure for a 2-question essay. You don't have to follow it. This is just what I suggest, but there are many other ways that you can answer it. You write an introduction, a main body, a second main body, and then you do a conclusion, of course. Okay, so you can see that what I suggest is that right at the beginning, you have what's called an outline sentence, and you state your answer to both the questions, right? So what I mean by this is, in the first paragraph, I answer the first question, why do you think some parents may choose homeschooling? And in the second paragraph, I write about the second topic, do you think homeschooling is more beneficial? By doing this, you're organized quite nicely, and you know that you've tackled both the questions that have been asked. But there are many other ways. You may choose to do one idea and then counteract it with your own opinion. There are many other structures, but I find that this really works easily. Right. But importantly, remember, it's not enough if you just have an idea. You must give a further explanation and say why that idea makes sense to you. Right. So that's really important. And also remember to give an example. Okay, so let's answer this question. What are some reasons for parents to choose homeschooling? Can you put it on the chat box, please? In here, please don't keep messaging me. I will have a look at your question. Let's just go through this, right? If you don't mind. Yeah, convenience, no travel time, flexibility, personalized. So many, many, many nice answers. So as you can see, you don't have to be a parent. You don't have to be an expert. Always, IELTS topics will give you some thoughts at least, right? So whatever thoughts come into your head, just write them all down. Right, okay. So these are some of the things that I've written. Many of you have written these same things as well, and I've just put it into my own words, right? Now, question for you. Do we have to write about all these points? No, not at all. Not just not needed. You shouldn't write about all of them, because you won't be able to write in detail if you pick up too many points. So what I suggest is that you either pick one, which is what I normally do, or you can even pick two. Right. So how do I pick this? I've written all these points, and I think, which one do I have most vocabulary? Which one do I have an idea? Which is the one that I personally relate to, perhaps? For whatever reason, you shortlist and pick one of these ideas. And I think about this as an example. So I think, okay, I think I'll write about flexibility. Okay, so you tag it onto your idea. Now let's think of some ideas for, do you think homeschooling is more beneficial? Your personal opinion is what is being asked for. Right? So let's have some ideas on the chat, please. Do you think homeschooling is beneficial? No, you can't just say no, you have to put the reasons, right? Social development, no physical learning. Yeah, exercise, maybe there's no competition. Social value, yeah, very, very good. All lots and lots of answers. So again, see, you've come up with lots of ideas. Let me see. I've also said no, and I've said some of these things, social skills, which many of you said in different words. Yeah, I'm saying some words, teamwork. I've also said you have professional teachers to teach you. Right. So again, I have to think, which one of these points should I expand upon? Right. All very good, Mayanka, Zoya, all of you. Very nice answers. Thank you. Right. So then I say, I think I have a good idea, because in teamwork, children work together to complete projects. Whereas if they are not, if they are being homeschooled, they won't get this benefit. So now I'm ready. I've got a few ideas. I'm going to pick only two out of them. If you want, you can pick one more idea. But I think if you write in, expand your ideas quite well, you will be able to make a full 250-word essay with just this much information. Right. So now let's think about how we begin writing. Right. So if you remember the structure, I said we start with an introduction, and the introduction starts with a topic sentence where I introduce the subject. And you can see I put square brackets here because it's not always needed to have a topic sentence. You can. And the other thing I say is paraphrase the question and then state your answer to both the questions. So here's a sample. The topic is homeschooling or school education. Therefore, I put a topic sentence. As I said, it's not really necessary. Homeschooling is becoming increasingly popular, etc. This is from the question. Now, how can you paraphrase this so that it becomes an introduction? Rephrasing is difficult, but it can be done. All it requires is some other words, really. Right? You're right, Ritik. It is difficult. That's why we have to expand our vocabulary. Right? So this is how I rephrased it. If some of you want to contribute, I'll be happy to read what you have to say. But this is what it is. I've said the same thing. Right? It's just another way of saying the same thing. And then I've given my opinion in both these. Homeschooling families are becoming common in most parts of the world. Yeah, okay, Bansi, all good. Yeah, good one. This essay will discuss why some parents think. So that's my answer to question 1. And that's one is my answer to question 2. Right? So all put together, I've written my introduction. It's the same sentences I showed you in my previous slide. And the word count is at the moment 70. Okay, so we've now move on to the main topic. As you can see, I've just expanded upon my thoughts for the first point, which was about flexibility. I'd already put there that flexibility is important, and I've also got an example here. And this is an example I thought about during my planning stage. So you can see, Pavan, the format of writing two, I don't understand. I will come back to it. Right. So you will see that by just adding main motive for parents to choose homeschooling is the flexibility. Then I've explained the reason, and I've also given an example. Practically in 3 to 4 sentences, you're now at 146 words. Okay, and similarly, I haven't written a paragraph 2, but I would encourage you to do it yourselves. Similarly, you can write paragraph 2, and then finally you write a conclusion. In the conclusion, remember not to make new points. You're just summing up your ideas, so don't give any more examples. My teacher said that 5 to 6 sentences are important to write in. I'm not familiar with this term BP, but yes, so I can't say that 5 or 6. It's not written on the writing descriptors. Always refer to the writing descriptors. It never says 5 to 6 sentences. I think what your teacher was trying to say is that you should give a full explanation, right? So if you're able to write a complex sentence by combining 2 sentences together, that's perfectly fine as well, right? Okay. So how shall we go about writing a conclusion? Right. So in conclusion, this is what I've written, right? So if you look at it, it is actually the introduction itself that I've rephrased. So well rephrased introduction is, you don't have to think about it, what you've written in the introduction, rephrase it in a nice way so that it's a summary. And in this manner, you check that what I've written in the beginning is consistent with what I've written in the end. So this is what I would suggest that you follow. But as I said, everybody has their own comfort and their own style. Feel free to use it. But my main tips on writing task 2 will be to identify what you need, plan, and do have ideas. Okay, the ideas will come. None of the topics will be so out there that you will not have ideas. You will have. Just pick the simplest of ideas. But what you have to do is to develop them. Also, remember to have a range of vocabulary so that you don't use the same words over and over again. Also, careful about your sentences. They shouldn't be too long or too short. Yeah, conclusion shouldn't contradict the introduction, Arav. You're right. What if the word limit exceeds 250 or 150 words? Punctuation is important, Bharat. And today, many people ask about the word limit. Try and, is it okay to write beyond the word limit? Yes, it is. But why would you write beyond the word limit? Because you're just wasting time. You will just be wasting time. So you can't do that. I wouldn't recommend that you write far above it. So if it is 250, if you write another 20 words or so, it's quite okay. But yeah, it can't be less than that. It definitely can't be less than that. Should we write reasons in the introduction for the opinion essay? Yes, that's a good reasons for an opinion essay. Yes, in the introduction, set out what the path of your writing is going to be. Ekalavya, how many paragraphs? If you refer to the band descriptors, it doesn't say, but I would say introduction, main body 1, main body 2, and conclusion is quite sufficient. You can have another paragraph or so. Is it necessary to have examples for each? Yes, for each point you should have an example. Gayatri, paper-based and computer-based, please talk to IDP. Okay. Let's move on to the speaking section now. In this slide, you will see a few statements about the speaking section. 2 of these sentences are incorrect. Can you tell me which these are? Arvind, yes, you need to use punctuation marks. There are 2 that are incorrect. Okay. So here they are. Many of you have said 6, which, oh, sorry. Okay, the 2 incorrect ones are the 4 and 6, and many of you have said that correctly. The examiner only asks questions, and does not evaluate your speaking is incorrect. It is the same examiner who will ask you and evaluate your speaking. That's good information for us to know. And you don't have to advance. The examiner keep that, and if you're talking for too shorter time, then point number 3, she will encourage you, which means she or he will say things like, why is that? Or do you want to say something more to get you to speak a little more? But the length of your answer, if it's too long, you will get a signal from the examiner. They will say something like, okay, thank you, let's move on, that kind of thing. Okay, so keep your ears and eyes open to the cues that your examiner gives you. Okay, so these are the parts, and for purposes of this, let's quickly go through part 3. Any questions about how the exam itself is conducted, please message the IDP team or get in touch with them. They'll give you all the information that you need. Right, okay, I'm quickly showing you these. It's similar to the writing, and it's good for you to be aware of what you're going to be marked on. The only difference you will see here is that you're expected to be, is rather than, yeah, you'll see fluency and coherence, and you also see the word pronunciation, right? So what is fluency? Ritik, you're again telling me about words. Clearly, it's an indicator that you need to expand your vocabulary, and you'll have to read a bit more, and yeah, try and use more words, essentially. Yeah, fluency is about not a lot of hesitation, all of that, being able to speak in a flow, and pronunciation is, of course, what do you mean by pronunciation? Rate of speaking. Yeah, intonation, MTR. Tone should be correct. Okay, so all of that is correct. In the IELTS, again, you should look through the marking criteria, which is in the speaking back descriptor. You will not see any mention of you not to have your own regional accent. It's perfectly okay as long as you're clear. We all come from different parts of the country. I have an accent, you have an accent, indicating which part of the country we come from. And that's perfectly okay as long as it's clear and we are easy to understand, right? It doesn't matter. And I think that's really the beauty of the English language and the way we speak English in India. Okay, so in part 3, what is the problems that you face mostly? Content. We've spoken about content. You have to get into the habit of generating ideas either by brainstorming or just thinking about things, right? So always ideas it's not that you don't have ideas, you're not in the habit of expressing those ideas, right? Linking ideas flow. So ideas again is a problem. Fumbling is a problem. All of these will go with practice, right? So don't be too hard on yourself. It will go with practice. So these are some of the problems that I've faced with people I've trained, students, and they all have some solution or the other. So first of all, if you can't understand the question, don't hesitate. You can ask for clarification, okay? As long as you do it politely. Tell the examiner, can you repeat the question? Or if they've used a word that you're not very clear, let's say a word like status, you don't know what they mean by that, you can say, can you tell me what it means, right? You can't do it all the time, but every once in a while, if you find, I think that was a little tough for me, you can ask for a clarification. So it's better for you to ask and be clear what the examiner is asking you rather than answer a question that they've not asked. Right? If you can't think of an answer very fast, buy some time. So what do I mean by this? Use the right expressions like this. Give me a moment to think about an answer, or that's an interesting question. I've never thought about it. That sort of thing. Again, for particularly hard questions that you've really not encountered before. Again, you can't use this repeatedly but you can buy a few seconds to organize your thoughts. You're not going to be marked down for that. In fact, your examiner will think, okay, in a tricky situation, this person is able to communicate that they need a little more time. Okay, vocabulary, this is something, as I've said right at the beginning of this session, you will have to work on your vocabulary. You have to expand it by reading and listening, making a vocabulary bank. Not just knowledge of words, but learn to use it in your speaking and your writing as well. In part 3, it's important that you don't give very short answers. And just like in the writing, think that if I make a sentence, will I be able to expand on the answer as well? Some people say that they don't know what to expect, but the point is, these are the 6 or 7 things that most IELTS speaking part 3 questions are about. You should know how to tackle every one of them. You should be able to give your opinion. You should be able to talk about somebody else's opinion. You should be able to contrast, things like that. So what you need is a good vocabulary and a grammar range. And that's something that you will have to work on separate from your IELTS strategy. Work on your grammar, work on your vocabulary, learn how to build complex sentences. These are just language challenges, and you will have to work on your language skills for that. And for the topics themselves, do go to the official websites. You'll get lots and lots of hints on the. So, and most importantly, in part 3 is really different from part 1 because you shouldn't be giving short answers. So how would you answer a question like this? Do you think tourism is good for your country or for your state? Anything like that. How would you answer this? Any answers? Okay. Yes, it's good for the economy of the country. Yes, it's good for the economy of the country. Yeah, that's a good thing to say. And I would suggest that you follow this format. Okay, yes or no, you give your answer, state your answer, but you should also be explaining why you gave that answer and try and give an example as well. So if you follow this format, more or less, you'll be able to cover it. Now, you can start your answer by saying, yes, I believe dash is excellent for our country. Now, can you fill this gap here for me, please? How would you fill this gap? Right. Okay. Now, many of you are saying tourism is excellent for our country. Why would I say don't use the word tourism? Can we say it in another way? Yeah. Okay, I want you to fill in the blank. Right. So I would suggest that you use another word like travelers are or the tourism industry is. And why is this? I've changed the word from the question, influx of tourists, yeah, all of that. Why have I done that? Because I want to show that I have a good range of vocabulary and that I don't need to use the same word that is used by the examiner. Can I say visitors to the country? Yeah, that is correct. Right, so remember always to try and rephrase the question and use other words to help the examiner understand that you have a good range. Right, so, and once you say that, be able to support it. So in this case, I've just said, okay, it's a source of livelihood for this, etc., economy of the region, but don't stop there. Try and see if you can add one more sentence. It's a source of livelihood for the local population. It grows the economy. More jobs are created because, you know, there will be more hotels, there will be more shops, there will be more transport options. So all in all, it is excellent for the country. And then you think about an example, somewhere you went to recently, or maybe or somewhere you went to recently, or something that has happened in your own town because of tourism. If you think it's a positive thing, you can give an example. I've just put Rajasthan here as an example of craftspeople, etc. Okay, so you can answer this in any way you want, but this is just an example. But try and follow this format because this will help you organize your thought. You can tick it off in your head. Did I answer the question the examiner asked me? Yes. Did I say why? Yes. Did I add one more sentence to the why? Yes. Did I give an example? Yes. So if you try and follow this three-part answering of part 3 questions, you will find that you are able to give a comprehensive answer. Alina, can the answer to this question be both yes and no? And then I can explain. That's a fantastic way as well. You can say yes and no as long as you can give examples for this. Is it this answer a bit too long? Yes, it's long because I've typed it out. When you say it, it will take about 30 or 40 seconds, and it depends on your speaking. And if it is long, remember, Saket, that the examiner will say, thank you, let's move on. So that's perfectly okay. Right. Let me, so what we have talked about some of the difficulties we face in part 3, but equally importantly, these are some of the tips I have. Don't try to memorize answers. It becomes very evident to the examiner because the way you speak with memorized answers versus your own answers will be different. So don't do that, but do practice as much as possible. If you make a mistake, and this is something I encourage you to do, we all make mistakes when we speak. Even when I talk now, I'm a trainer with many, many years of experience, but sometimes I can use the wrong word or my grammar may come out wrong because I'm thinking something, but my mouth is saying something. It's important that you say, oh, sorry, and go back and correct what you said. Don't try and think I have to speak flawlessly. We are humans, we make errors. I would say similarly, don't be very hard on yourself and say, oh, I have to speak without a pause. I have to speak without any These things happen in natural speak. It is that it should not be too much. When you speak, the fluency should be good, but it doesn't mean there will be no pauses. And for every answer, I have to quickly give an answer with no pauses. That's not possible. So be kind to yourself. What I'd suggest, and this is something that a lot of people ask me, what do I do about my right? So one of the things I suggest you do, take a few questions, okay, especially if you don't have a trainer helping you. Take questions, record yourself, right? So a part 3 question like, is tourism bad for your country or for your state? Record yourself by giving an answer. The first time you do it, maybe you'll give a 1-sentence answer, right? Then you go back to your prep work, say, what are the other things I should say? Make an aim for yourself. Next time I speak, I will speak in 3 sentences. Similarly, note down how many pauses you have. Initially, when you speak, you will have, let's say, 7 or 8 pauses in 2 or 3 sentences. Next time you record yourself, you give yourself a target and say, I shouldn't have more than 5 pauses, and I should be now able to answer in 4 or 5 sentences. So in incremental steps, giving yourself small targets can help you become better and more confident. I find that a lot of students are very hard on themselves. It is not possible for us, if you've not been in this profession, if you've not had the opportunity to speak, to say, okay, I have to now be perfect. It's not possible. Be kind, be, what shall I say, have expectations of yourself that, yes, within the next week, I will not speak the way I'm speaking this week, right? So this is what I'd say, use your recorder and make that your friend. And in the meantime, keep working on your language skills side by side. Refer to grammar books, refer to vocabulary building techniques, and work on those as well. How should we choose our topics? A story for part 2. I sometimes choose controversial topics due to lack of any others. How do you choose a topic? I don't understand for part 2. I don't. Okay, so another thing is when there is a choice of what you want to speak about, um, when you have to speak about something, speak on anything that you feel comfortable about. Again, the examiner is not checking your content and not judging you based on what you have said. Your opinions may be different from the examiner's opinions. You may have an opinion different from the 10 other candidates who came before you. That's perfectly okay. Remember that this is a test of English, not a test of your knowledge, not a test of your opinions. Do you work and study? What will be the good answer? Ritik, what is your answer? That is the good answer, right? Be truthful and just say what is correct. Ravi Teja, quite often, please get in touch with the IDP team. They're an excellent team and will support you in whatever way you want about the modalities of the exam. Right. I'm going now to the reading section. Okay, in the here, let me try and understand what you're saying. If I use, so the question is this. Okay, I'm not able to see your question again. If I use personal pronoun in the introduction of task 2, then I need to go with personal pronoun in the body paragraph. I'm not aware of any rule like this. So no, there is no such rule that if you use it in the introduction, you have to use it. Talk about a story I saw on the news. Half of the stuff is controversial, the other half. Controversial to you may not necessarily be controversial to somebody else, right? So, yeah, I'm not sure what point you're making. Right? Don't be too bothered about your opinion, not be too bothered in the sense, don't worry about it. But just like that, to try and stir controversy and to say something that is provocative, I think that's just bad manners, right? So nothing to do with your English, but don't say something that'll, just like for the fun of it. I would not do that. Krima, I can't imagine that you don't know about a topic at all because you are going to be preparing for the IELTS exam. Hopefully, you've gone through many tests and you've done the reading, you're doing your preparation, so you will know about the topic. Accent really doesn't matter as long as you're speaking clearly. Right, Bharat? Ritik, I haven't chosen any course. All questions are about the course. I'm sorry, I didn't understand your comment. Let's move on to the reading test. Question regarding task 1. Write and improve by Cambridge, analyzing the score. Can I practice? Yes, any practice is good practice. Okay, we are slowly running out of time, so I have to move to the reading part, but I will come back and answer as many questions as possible on this. Okay, so in the reading section, you will see that you have to do quite a bit of reading. So I would strongly recommend that you practice reading by reading a variety of texts and try and improve your speed as well. Okay, so question to you, should you be reading the text first or the question? Mayank, what you've written is not a good idea. You shouldn't be just writing ideas, you should elaborate. Yeah, very good, very good, very good, all of you. You should be reading the questions first because then you're focused on what you have to read. So what are some of the strategies that you have to follow while reading? I have just put the first one, read the instructions carefully. Repeat, Chandu, we are just getting into the reading. It'll be helpful if you waited. Yeah, keywords. Yeah, in that is correct. Okay, keywords are good. Anything else? I would also say previewing the text, which means when you look at a text, spend a little time looking at the heading. and the first sentence. So for example, what will this text be about? What will this text be about? By just looking at the text and the first few lines, you know that what you're going to read about is about some campaign, okay, none of you is answering my question, but my question was this: what does this show you? What is the text going to be about? So you will get a description of the different types of walks that are there. So it's important to read the first sentence and look at the headings as well, so that we can prepare ourselves mentally. And yes, many of you have said this: identify the keywords in a question. So here's a sentence for you. Can you tell me what the keywords are, please, in this? Arrive on time, presentation. Yeah, many of you have said this, have underlined the keywords, but also notice that I've underlined the word few. It's a very short question, but short word, but I've underlined that. Yeah, few of the attendees, that's really important. And why is it important? Why is the word few important? The word few is important because it can completely change uh, the meaning. If instead of few it is many, or a lot, or most of the attendees. So if that's the question and this is part of the answer, therefore it's really important for us not to ignore these small qualifying words. Quantifying words, okay? Skimming, of course, reading quickly, scanning, searching for words. These you're already familiar with if you're preparing for the IELTS exam. So these reading strategies you must know and you must practice these. Right, let's look quickly at how we can do a matching headline. So essentially, you have a text, you have a list of headlines, and you have to match the different headlines to the different texts. Very often, there will be at least in the list of headlines that you cannot find a match to, and that will be left unmatched. Okay, so normally these are the instructions. It has 4 paragraphs and it says write the correct numbers 1 to 5. So immediately you notice that there is one extra title in the box. Okay, so once you've noticed that, because sometimes that's something that we forget and we try to keep looking for matches when a match is not available, right? Pre-reading the text means think about it for a second. What is the text going to be about? So what is this text going to be about? Yeah, Easter Island, destruction of the Easter Island. So yes, so we know that we have to look out for things that answers the question why the civilization of Easter Island went down. We look at the first paragraph as well so that we have an idea of what the text is going to be about. And what is the word that comes up to you many times? So it becomes important. What is the word that you see repeatedly? Yeah, that's right. Mui is the word that you see. And island. So you know that, see, these are some of the words that are going to become significant for us. And so right at the beginning, we try and figure out what this Mui means right at the beginning. And if you read it carefully, you will see that they were some sort of statues. So once we've got this much in mind, we can proceed forward. And you've already decided we have to look at the questions first. So here's the list of headings. If you want, you can take a snapshot of this. And the technique we will follow is this. So you have a paragraph. So every paragraph will have sentences like this. We look, and very often the most important part of sentence, or what this paragraph, not important part of the sentence, sorry, what is the most important part of the paragraph, or what the meaning of the paragraph will be either in the first or the last sentence. So we will try and concentrate on that initially. So try the first sentence and try to match it with the headlines. Read the second one. If you don't get a match, read the last line and try to match with the headline. So this is what we will try and do. So that's the first paragraph, and that's the list of headings. Let's try and find a heading that matches, right? So let's do this together. So I read the first sentence. Several hundred ancient human statues, which is a MUI. And then I try and see, does it match with anything here? Is that talking about innovative environment practices? No, it's not. Is it about a question answer? Did some statues make some situation worse? Is it about food resources? Is it about the future? I think we've not got a match on this. Right, so let's try and match it with the second one. Identity was in doubt, okay? And modern science has proved that they were Polynesians. Do you think this is matching any of these? So you can tell that there was some controversy in the 20th century, but then modern science has answered the controversy, right? And we can see that answer, it is not the first one. It is not the second. There's nothing about situation, nothing about that, and nothing about the future. And therefore, we can see quite clearly that the answer was number 2. Right? So read the first, read the last, and try and match the headlines. Let's try another one. Europeans like Scotland. There's a talk about Poland. Don't read the rest of the paragraph. Read the last one. Collapse of this. Worst case scenario. Are we able to make a match just by looking at these 2 sentences? So when you're not able to find a match with the first and the last, don't spend time reading the bit in between, because that'll end up with us taking a lot of time. My suggestion is that you move on and come back to this paragraph later. In the first round, you try and match it only with the first sentence or the last sentence. So I'm not going to find this match at the moment. I'm just going to move on, right? We're looking at this sentence here. So it's talking about some archaeologists and that it was a disaster. And then we also look at this. I think that we can look and see that it is matching with. Is it talking about the future? Look at how it says they built some thousands. There were stone windbreaks, broken volcano, gardened inside them. So all these things, what were they? Right? They didn't make a situation worse, but they do show us that there were some innovative environmental management practices, because these are new to those days, right? Okay, so that's how we will match that as well. Okay, this one I'm just going to show you, because this is what I just want to conclude this by showing you how one of them will remain unmatched. So one of the things I've done is only top and the bottom line. I've cut out the things that are not matching. I'm only considering the first and the last lines, and then of course go back and read the ones that were not matched and try and find a match. I've done it very quickly, but that's only to tell you that this is a good method to follow for matching the headlines kind of question. So do try it out again. This is from the Cambridge IELTS academic book. You should try it yourself. Try to follow this. It's a longer text also. I've shortened it just to show you the technique that you can follow. So in a nutshell, this is the method that we recommend. Read the first and last lines of each paragraph. If a match is found, you can skim read the whole paragraph just to confirm that what you've done is correct and remove that option from the list. If you don't find it, move on to the next paragraph and repeat the progress. Don't try to read the entire paragraph. Only for the paragraphs that are left unmatched, go back to it, because then you have to do intensive reading. You can't just do quick reading, right? And you will find that Mayanka says, is it fine if I read the whole text first because I'm not able to concentrate otherwise? If you're a person who's new to reading, if you're a person that's new to reading, yes, you should be doing this. Read it first, try and understand it. But if, as you gain practice, you should be you shouldn't be reading the whole text, because then that is a waste, not wasting, but it's going to take a lot of time and you won't be able to answer it. Any website for modules online practice? Yes, I will be showing you a full list, but the IDP India website has a full list of material. So be careful about your time management where reading is concerned. And you have to be able to read fast because there's a lot of reading to do. Try and read in a manner that's not word by word, but try and read in phrases. Okay, so what do I mean by difficult words and what shall we do about it? When you have a word that is difficult, which means you're not able to, you don't understand what it means. What do you do? Try to understand the context. Absolutely right. Yes. Read around the word, right? So don't get stuck, oh, I have to understand each and every word, because the English language is so vast that there will always be words that we don't understand, right? So you continue to read further, you're right, or read above and below it. If you still cannot figure out the meaning, just think, is this word giving a positive meaning or does it have a negative connotation? Once you get that, you can move on. Mostly these difficult words are not the most important things. It is just check actually whether you have good reading skills. Okay, we've just got a few more minutes, so let me see if I can cover this. True, false, or not given question text. What you given is a set of statements. You have to match with text and see whether it matches the information or it is not mentioned in the information, or whether it is giving information to you that is incorrect. Right? So essentially, so let's have a look at this simple sentence. Right? I'm going to show you a set of statements. Can you give me some answers to this, please? Okay, so here it is. We know that he loves bananas. Okay, does he love apples? Does it say that? So we don't know. So we say not given. And what is the opposite of the statement, I love bananas, is I hate bananas. So we're going to say it's false. And because we don't know, we know in general that bananas are yellow, but it has nothing to do with the text that is given. Even though it is true and we know it, we have to say not given, right? So this is the basic method that we should follow. Only answer true, false, or not given based on the text that is given to you. So here's a text preview of a short text that I have. Okay, what do you think it's going to be about? Because there is a term called four-legged companion. So what do you think it's going to be about? It's a good idea for us to think about that. And here's a short look at the first paragraph. So have a quick think. Yeah, it's about pets or dogs in the classroom, right? Okay, so once we've understood that, we're ready to move on. This is the text. You can take a screenshot if you like, but I'm going to be working with you on this. And these are the sentences. There are three sentences, statements that we have to mark as true, false, or not given. So if you want, you can take a screenshot of this as well. So let's look at the first statement. Always, as we said, we're going to look at the question first. So what are the words, keywords here? Let's have a look at them. Can you underline them? Right, so we look at the keywords. Please work with me. I don't have time to look at your answers right now, but I would like you to work along with me. And are we going to find the exact words, main theme, seminar, pets, etc.? Are we going to find these words in the text? Yeah, good, Bansi. We're not going to see it. So what other words could we find in the text? Instead of main theme, what are the words? You try and make a prediction and try to think. Yeah, synonyms, yes. What are the synonyms for pets? What are the synonyms for main themes? So keep your eyes focused on these words that means that. So here's the paragraph for you. And let's see whether this is the correct paragraph. We can do that by checking whether the word main theme is written somewhere, main theme of the seminar. So you can see the word conference, which means the same as seminar. Okay, so we know that this is the correct paragraph we should be reading. So please read the paragraph intensely and answer the question. Is the main theme of the conference about pets? Okay, so many of you started giving answers. You can see that it is about young people's sense of well-being, and the main theme of the conference is not about pets, and therefore this statement is false, right? But there could be a possibility that we tend to say true because of the first misleading distractor sentence, because the first sentence starts by saying every school should have a dog, and we may tend to say yes, it is about it, but we should read intensively and read all the words in the statement before we make up our mind. Okay, so let's look at this. There is evidence that the presence of pets in schools helps kids. So what are the keywords? Here I'm underlining them. I'd like you to read this paragraph and tell me whether it is true, false, or not given. Siripi Chandu, I'm giving you tips and you're asking me this question. I would suggest that you follow what I'm telling you so that your question is answered. Right, so you can see that instead of pets, the words here are animals such as dogs. And there is talk about mental health issues. We know that this is the right paragraph. Let's see whether it answers this question. So what is your answer? Is it true, false, or not given? Okay, note the keyword. Note the keyword. Yes. No, it is not because although it talk about it, there is no evidence. Okay, this is only Sir Anthony suggesting. Okay, but is there evidence? Is there a scientific study? Is there a quotation from a scientist? No, it is just a person suggesting that if you have a pet in the school, it may help with their mental health issues, but he has given us no statistics, etc., and therefore we have to say not given. So the problem, so therefore, once again, the reason why, if you have said true, the reason is because you've only looked at pets in school and you've also looked at the word mental health issues, but you've not paid attention to the keyword evidence. So this is the key factor for these kind of questions. You should ensure that every part of the statement is true for it to be true, not just 2 or 3 words, but everything should be true completely before you mark it as true. Otherwise, very often it will be a not given or a false. So I've told you how to do it. Look at the synonyms and read intensely. And you can look at point 7. For it to be true, it has to match exactly. And if you're looking for information that is not there, then you can be quite sure that it is a not given question. Okay, so hopefully I've been able to give you some points that will help you with some parts of the test. And if you find that these methods that I've prescribed work for you, please put it into practice right away. Don't try to look for many different methods, many opinions, etc. Once you find something that works for you, put it into practice, because people can have suggestions. There are many websites will give you many different methods. They all can work. But what works for you, find that and then start practicing, because that's the most important things. Don't keep asking for opinions, right? And then there are 2 main factors: improve your English, improve your strategies as well. You must learn to analyze your mistakes. If you've got a low score band, don't think, oh, I don't know. Try and figure out what is it that is keeping you back. Is it lack of vocabulary? Many of you are telling me that this is my problem. I don't have vocabulary, or I have confidence issues, or I don't have ideas. So when you already know, that is a big advantage for you. So please work on those things. Get external help if you require. Look at the fantastic material that is already on the IDP website. All these are going to help you really work well. But at the end of it, my last point, there are no magic tricks. If you say, give me tips, I want a high band score, I will say there are no shortcuts, except work on your English and work on your strategy. So I wish you well. Do look at these. I strongly recommend that you don't look for information in other websites, but to follow the official material that is available on these websites. Okay, the IELTS IDP India, IELTS, the British Council, as well as the Cambridge English website. These are the official websites, and you should try and take material from that. There's a good reference website for academic words. If you're wondering where to get academic words from, please refer to this website. It's pretty good. Okay. In the reading section, is it important too? I think somebody from IDP, if you can answer that, that would be really nice. It doesn't really matter how you answer the question in a computer-based test. Okay. Mayanka, you should look at the reading descriptors, scores, etc. Become familiar with it. Right. Obviously, 37 to 38 will be in the highest band. Do you have an option to underline in the reading passage? In the reading passage to underline on a computer, no, you can't. You'll have to take down notes. Previous slide, this one, yeah. How many idioms can I use? Again, there is no quantity mentioned. If you want to use idioms, they should be relevant. The vocabulary list, academic vocabulary list, and I put here, it's only a suggestion, okay? You can. I want to say once again about the speaking. It is the quality of your speaking, not the quality of your ideas, that your examiner is looking at. As long as it's relevant, whether you agree with the answer, you don't agree, the examiner doesn't care. Be polite. even if, and don't try to stir a controversy. It won't matter. They are professionals. They don't really mind, but it'll work to your advantage if you concentrate on giving an honest opinion, right? It doesn't matter. There's no such thing as controversy unless that is your aim. If you want to create controversy, you can. But if that's not your aim and you just want to do well in your exam, give a nice answer and back it up with your examples. Is it mandatory to use idioms? I would like to ask you to go to the the writing and the speaking band descriptors and have a look and see whether it says you must use idioms. Rather than asking people this question, you refer to it. And whatever it says, you will see that it says use apt vocabulary. It doesn't say idioms, it doesn't say conditionals, it doesn't say any of that. As long as your vocabulary fits the situation, it is a good thing. Naturally, if you can use higher level vocabulary, it is better for you. Mayanka, I cannot answer this. Okay, I don't think anybody can answer. The way to do it is to practice. If you really think your IELTS, your writing is weak, then I would say perhaps you're not ready. Then why don't you wait rather than write immediately? Nidisha, I've already answered this. Okay, if you have nothing more to say, to ask me, I would like to thank you very much and thank you IDP for all the speaking exams are in person. Okay, thank you and good luck.